Peter. Forgive me if I don't respond to you carefully because it's still very noisy down here, and I'm going to kind of tell you what happened to me. We're now about 4 blocks from the scene, and as you can see, even at this hour, it's like being on the edge of the crater of a volcano. The smoke is still pouring out. The air is still acrid with fumes. Everywhere around me, I see haggard firefighters, exhausted policemen. And then in this eerie disconnect in New York, occasionally you see people just succumbing to the everyday and walking by. But still, when you look at this, it is clear it is not over, because as we know, within the last hour, another building came down, number 47, a 47-story building. And also they're saying they're evacuating now the Millennium Hotel, so this may not be over in a number of ways. As I said, when you walk around the streets of New York, and it's too easy probably to say that it's like one of those techno-future thrillers where everything seems wrong, and yet people are carrying packages. They've been shopping while firefighters are still streaking their way down here. I also want to bring in, if I can, Don Daler, Peter, because Don has been down here all day. He was with us this morning as well. And about an hour ago, you made your way up to the scene, and you've had those pictures from the private photographer, Peter, but I want Don to tell us what he saw when he went to the scene himself.
Right. Well, about an hour ago, we made our way down Broadway, past where there were a large number of firemen gathered, very frustrated, very exhausted, because they were not being allowed to put out these fires in the number of the buildings around the site of the World Trade Center itself. There was too much danger for them to be going there. They wanted to go and work. We made our way past the firemen and got about half a block away from where this building on this side would have been standing. And there was billowing smoke. It was hard to see everything, but I clearly saw something worse than what Dante would have imagined. There was rubble, there was twisted metal, and I clearly saw bodies and what appeared to be body parts strewn on the street, on the rubble itself.
And people still working on the evacuation.
Working on evacuation, yes, but they were forcing it. The point I was there, the police were forcing everyone from emergency workers to the firemen away because there was such a fear, as you saw later, of a building collapse.
Well, I want to give you a sense again, Peter, of what it is like here when one of the buildings collapsed. We have here Jeff Rawson, who's from WABC, our affiliate, which has done great work today on this story. And Jeff, we have footage, and I hope we can cue it up, because we see this wall, this thunderous wall of smoke streaking down the street, and you were just ahead of it. And for all of you who were trying to escape it, what was that like?
Well, what happened was we saw this big cloud coming at us. It was dust and it was smoke, and we knew the people inside of it couldn't see anything because we saw them running at us. So our job was to just get out of the way. What happened was we couldn't get out of the way fast enough, and it caught up with us. We have people crying. They were creating a human chain, literally walking around like this because they couldn't see anything. At one point, we were stuck. We were at a store with a glass front, and we couldn't get in. There was no way to go. We couldn't breathe. We didn't have masks. So an officer, a police officer from New York, came in with an axe and literally just bashed in the window and led us into that store. If it wasn't for that, I'm not sure what we would have done, and that's been a huge problem all day. Couldn't just see anything, and that was the problem.
What was the heat like, and how suffocating was it for those trying to escape?
It was hot, but luckily we were a couple of blocks away, and the bigger problem was all the dust, and it got into your lungs, and you just kept coughing, and you couldn't speak, and you couldn't see. People were walking at the poles, people were crying and screaming. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Well, again, these are just a couple of people who have been on the scene all day, Peter. And as we said, we have watched this footage. We have seen people both heroic, terrified, and mystified. And the scene out here tonight is really just one of complete, almost wounded numbness. And there's no other phrase I can summon at this moment to convey it to you.
Thank you very much, Diane. Diane Sawyer, who's been in Midtown Manhattan all day trying to get a grasp of the city and very effectively what's going on around her. Don Daler from ABC News Good Morning America has been down with a couple of freelance photographers. It's freelance photographers who brought us the most intimate, the closest up video of what actually happened at the